Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I am your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the owner and operator of Something Wicked Entertainment and Events, and welcome to this podcast in which we delve deep into the bowels of horror films. Now, if you've been listening to our show for the last few months since the beginning of 2025, we've been delving deep into many different types of subgenres of horror, as well as many different decades in horror, to give you a clearer look and outlook on some of the great films that you may or may not have missed. If you have never seen these films before, it's a great pleasure to listen to us talk about them. And if you have seen them before, it's always good to go back and revisit these movies. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be talking about a film that I actually had not seen in a while before rewatching it for the podcast, but it's one I really liked beforehand. But watching it now with a clearer perspective gives you a different ideal of what the film is. And to speak to me about the film today is going to be the immortal Jim Adams. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Oh, yes, I am your found footage man here. That's right. I think the last one we did was a found footage film.
Which is very funny because the movie we're watching today, in theory, is not a found footage movie, but
it ended up. It ended up. A lot of people call it that.
Yes, they do.
It's not. Yeah.
So for everyone out there, we're going to be talking about the movie Chernobyl Diaries.
Yeah.
Which always gets put in the found footage genre. Mostly because the original filmmakers behind it have done lots of found footage movies, and the fact that the look and aesthetic to the film.
Well, it was all handheld. I mean, everything pretty much was. So I think that's probably where people got confused.
Yeah, and then to be honest with you, when I rewatched it, I forgot it wasn't an actual found footage film, but it does contain an actual found footage within the film, which is
it does. Yes, it does. That one scene in the van there. That's right. Yeah, because there's a couple of times where they caught. I said, even this last time I watched it, knowing better. I said, "Oh, you caught yourselves. Yeah, that's not found footage because you staged that." I was like, "Oh, that's right. That's what they were doing." Okay,
exactly. And I had forgotten that when I rewatched it. I was like, "Oh,
it's easy to do because I think with all the handheld stuff, you think, oh, that must be what this one is."
Yeah, and the time period of which it came out, there was a lot of found footage because they had been popular. And you forget, the filmmakers behind this were actually did a couple found footage movies before this. So there you go.
This kind of came out around 2000. Was this 2013 or 2012? It was right in that area, and released on 2012. Yeah, this one was the 2012 film. Mm-hmm. And it was a hotbed. For the next couple of years here, you're going to see a bunch. It's about the time. Well, Paranormal came out in 2007, and so you're right in the middle of all those going hot as a bullet as well.
So when you first saw this film, what was your impressions about this film?
I'll tell you, I was like a lot of people. The whole Chernobyl incident. I mean, even though it horrified people, and it horrified me, is the surroundings of this town having to be totally evacuated, and the big radiation cloud that ended up affecting even people as far away as Sweden and whatever. But it also fascinated me. And just before I saw this film for the first time, I didn't see it in the theater. I ended up watching it later on cable or whatever it was. I wasn't streaming yet, but I had like one of the, I think it was on HBO or show. I think it was HBO that I saw it on when it played on HBO. The old days, where there were dinosaurs and we watched television by candlelight and that sort of thing before we started streaming. But I had gotten an Xbox game that was one of the Call of Duty games. I think it was Black Ops 1 or Black Ops 2. And part of it took place in Chernobyl.
Oh.
In Pripyat, I think is the name, how you pronounce the city.
Pripyat.
Yeah, that where they all lived and all that stuff. And I mean, it was like a dead ringer. So the one thing that really hit me on this was how legitimately perfect the location looked. They shot a lot of this in Hungary and Chechnya. I think some in Serbia as well. And of course, everybody remembers the news footage of the big Ferris wheel that was
Mm-hmm.
in that town there, which never got used because they were getting ready to open it up a month before, or they were going to open it up a month after the Chernobyl accident, and everybody was gone. I mean, it was so, but that's always been the thing I always thought about when I thought about Chernobyl. So there was this real eerie sense of we're really watching these guys shoot this movie on the actual location. And that just, I mean, it's a feeling I can't really even explain. It just was such an eerie feeling. One of those where the hair sort of stands up on the back of your neck or whatever. So this film really sort of got to me a little bit, trying to visualize all that these people must have gone through when this was happening.
Well, I saw this at the theater when it originally came out. I will say I did not know as much about Chernobyl then as I do now because of the miniseries Chernobyl, and I've actually read several books about.
Oh, absolutely! The miniseries was brilliant. Yeah, that was really.
I've seen a couple of the other very bad horror movies that have placed.
Yeah,
Chernobyl.
Yeah. I know the ones you're talking about. Yeah,
but I had not seen any of that when I saw this originally. But when I rewatched it for the podcast, my brain was different because I had seen all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Because I've read 2 books now about the whole Chernobyl incident.
Oh, absolutely. It's a fascinating tale. I mean,
and it's not just that, too. I also read several books based on the Fukushima incident as well. So.
Oh, yeah. And that happened in 2011. Yep, right just before this.
So the whole thing is, rewatching it, it made me actually appreciate the stuff that they present in the film. Because I also
absolutely
didn't know about extreme tourism either when I saw this film. It's a real thing that people do because there's an actual show about people who do extreme tourism.
Well, and they do offer tours now, just like we saw in the movie. And I mean, you could actually go over there today, and for like about $100, tour Pripyat. I mean, you're not going to make it out to the actual site because that's still pretty highly radioactive. Where the actual crater, I think they're still working on trying to seal that off, but it's still fairly radioactive out there, and will be for God knows 100 years or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't realize that. But when I was researching, doing a little research for our podcast here, it was like, oh yeah, you can book a tour now out there for about $100.
Well, yeah.
And the first thing I thought was, damn, I'd like to do that. I don't know why. There's something about this story. People who know me know that I'm a freak about the Titanic. I just, ever since I was a kid, fascinated with that whole story, and I've read every book on it and all of that. And no, I'm not a big fan of the James Cameron film. I'll just throw that in there. But anyway, that's another podcast for another time. This story is the same thing. It just absolutely fascinates me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like you. I watched the miniseries, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. Read a couple of books now on it, and just whenever I see anything that's got Chernobyl in it, I check it out.
Yeah, I do that too nowadays.
Yeah.
So,
and these guys got a lot of it right. I mean, as far as what they were making reference to, and the feeling that they presented. What it probably was like to go into this city and see what it looked like, and people literally just up and left.
mm-hmm.
Things that they had to leave behind. It was horrific. I think about the things I lost when the house destroyed my tornado, and I kept thinking, okay, maybe the feelings were similar, but they actually had to voluntarily leave stuff that probably meant a great deal to them because there was no time to go through mementos and family pictures and things that didn't have any kind of monetary value to them, but that were priceless as far as these people were concerned. And I thought this film did a great job of presenting the horror behind that part of it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So for anyone who's probably never seen Chernobyl Diaries, and we're not going to fault you for that because the thing is, it is a found footage film, and there is a lot of people who don't watch found footage films, can't appreciate them, and all that type of stuff. So we're not going to negate the fact that there's a lot of people who have probably never seen Chernobyl Diaries. But
yeah, probably not.
This group of friends, it is Chris, Amanda, and Natalie, and
yes.
Chris's brother,
Paul,
decide to take a side detour from their vacation plans to do this extreme tourism that Paul hears from Yuri.
Yeah, they originally were going to go to Moscow, where Chris was going to ask Amanda to marry him. He was going to formally propose, and then Paul says, "I got a great idea." And I guess we find out that Paul is sort of the reckless older brother.
Yes, he's the reckless older brother who always gets Chris into trouble.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they decide to do this reluctantly, and it starts off really well. So the setup for this is really well done because any tourist spot, they get Yuri takes them, these four and two other guys. Was it Michael and Zoe? They take Michael.
I think they were Dutch. I think they were Dutch, if I'm not mistaken. Michael was Australian.
Yeah,
and Zoe was the one who was from the Netherlands. Yeah.
Yeah. So this couple actually wants to go there. They plan to go there, and so they have a different mentality than the other four.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they're all excited. Yeah.
Yeah. So they all end up going there, and the brilliant thing is, there's a great setup for the audience because they get to see everything as the six people are seeing it. And then Yuri, of course, is telling the story of what happened, that these people had to leave their homes and stuff like that. And all this added backdrop, all this added information goes a very long way to not only telling audiences who may have never heard of or even know about Chernobyl and what happened there and the fallout from neighboring towns. It's a great setup. It
is. And for folks that like the film The China Syndrome.
Oh yeah.
That's basically what happened at Chernobyl. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. So if I don't profess to be able to tell scientifically what actually happened, but I mean, it's basically what they explained to the China Syndrome. There was just, there's just a big crater a big radioactive crater there now.
Which is sad, but they end up going to Pripyat, which is near the actual
right where the workers all lived. Yeah,
where all the workers all lived, because it's safer.
Right,
safer, but not nearly as safe because they encounter a wild bear, which shouldn't be there.
Well, I love that Yuri said, "Well, it's safe. I have a Geiger counter." It's a cell phone. He's got a cell phone with an app on it. It was like, I didn't really notice that. It didn't stand out to me the first time I saw this movie. I saw it again and was like, wait a minute. When you think Geiger counter, okay, we grew up with the same kind of movies. Is a little box with the little thing that looks like a microphone that you check it. I mean, that's what I think of when I think of a Geiger. But this is like, no, it's a damn smartphone with an app on it. A little gauge is like, oh my God.
That's what we come to now.
Yeah, I guess that's what it's become. But it's safe. It's safe. There's not much radiation. He was an American actor, by the way.
Was he?
I got to throw it out because I thought, man, where'd they find this Russian guy? There were no Russian actors, I don't think, in this thing. Well, there might have been one or two, because it was all supposedly it all takes place in the Ukraine, which is sort of appropriate with what's going on now. But his name was Dmitry, and he is Russian, but he was Russian American. Dmitry Dyachenko. He was a stuntman originally.
Oh wow!
But he did it. Then he did a little acting. He's not with us anymore. He passed away at a real early. He was 53 years old. Died from an accidental overdose of prescription drugs.
Oh damn!
I think he was a stuntman. He was probably on a lot of painkillers.
Oh shit!
Or something. But anyway, I didn't have the gory details. It just an accidental overdose from prescription painkiller or prescription medications. But he does a great job. I think you would have thought this guy was born and bred in Russia. But no, he was born like in Los Angeles or something.
Well, a lot of with what doesn't always happen with a lot of these type of found footage films. And by the way, if you haven't seen the film, despite the fact that it's kind of lumped in with the found footage genre, there's no character who actually carries the camera. It is all just the aesthetics of how the film is shot.
Yeah, that's sort of the giveaway. But one of the other giveaways is that all the Russians speak English. So I guess, of course, I don't know, because he was supposed to be a tour guide, so who knows?
Yeah, he's supposed to be a tour guide. But it's all shot that way.
Yes, yeah.
And so it gives the film a more a sense of immediacy and more realism being shot like.
Oh, it does. Yeah, it's a "you are there" type feel to it. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that makes it more effective because the camera is not limited to being held by an actual character in the movie.
That's true. That's true.
So that's actually a benefit for the film overall.
Sort of the approach that TV shows like Law and Order take. And all that, because I think they got sort of that started years ago, where sometimes they would have static cameras, but the handheld stuff was for the real dramatic scenes when you're in there with the cops and the war room or whatever and all that stuff. And it really does add that.
It does. That
you are there type feel to it. You definitely have it in this film.
Yeah. So it doesn't have the pitfalls of a found footage film, but it uses those aesthetics very well to tell the story.
Yeah.
Now, our sixth group, our men and women, sixth group of tourists, and Yuri, you see them go through, and they see the damage that was done and everything that's left behind, and the fact that the film has been abandoned, except for when they get attacked by a bear inside one of the abandoned.
Now, you think he was mutated? Every time I've seen this, I've never really been able to slow it down to watch if it was just a wild bear, or was he like a? But
I don't think they say specifically. They just bear is not supposed to really be there. And then
he was hungry,
and Yuri doesn't know why it is.
Yeah, he's thrown by that one. Yeah.
It's the same with the wild dogs that we see later on.
Oh man, that is scary stuff. Yeah.
Yes. So the wild dogs that live in the town that's irradiated.
We've got any video game players out there? Think Resident Evil.
Oh
that's exactly what I thought. Was like in the very first Resident Evil video game. That the scariest part of that game, if you've never played it, is when the dogs, the bad dogs show up. You literally, if you don't jump, you're not human. Even though you don't realize you're playing a video game at that point. It's like,
that's actually
that's exactly what I felt when that happened in the movie.
Which is what you should do, because after their truck dies on them, that when they're trying to leave, because these characters are still trying to do something else that day, but when they try to leave, their truck.
That's the part I didn't quite figure out. The wires to the battery were like corroded or chewed away by something, and it was like, how the hell did that happen?
Yeah,
I know. Did it? They didn't. Of course, maybe them not explaining it made it a little more eerie or whatever. But it's like, okay, Yuri, is that something you should have caught beforehand?
Yeah.
Before you took him on this little odyssey, or was that something when you left the van and went on your little tour and some kind of animal or something might have gotten in there? Or I don't know. That's it's basically like the battery cables were chewed through or whatever.
When I originally watched the film, that was my impression.
Yeah.
Then after I rewatched the film, I kind of think that maybe some of the people in town were trying that they encounter eventually the radio.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. That's very possible.
So some of them come out during the day, but for the most part, these radiated people who are still inhabiting the actual town, usually only come in and out at night.
Right. Yeah, they were just night people. Yeah.
But before
I hadn't thought about that. That's very possible. Very, very possible.
Yeah, but then I would think that maybe Yuri would have reacted differently, like, "Oh, someone tampered with the car."
Here.
I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know.
Well, I don't know if Yuri was even aware, or anybody was aware, that there were any mutated humans or whatever floating around that place.
Oh no, of course not yet.
Yeah, because except for the government knew everything,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean, 'cause you're right. He was shocked when he saw the bear. He's like, that should not have happened. And that's when it'll make you jump, even if you know it's coming. I always forget about it, and I never can remember exactly when they encounter the bear. It's like I know they're going to encounter. Oh crap! There it is. Yeah, it really does catch you.
Well, yeah, because they're at that point when they encounter a bear, they're just wandering through one of the houses, just
one of those big apartments or whatever. One thing I really loved about this film when he was showing, and it's the little things that these guys do so well. When he's showing the horror of how these people literally just, it's just like, get out right now.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even have time to think. There's like a doll sitting in one of the apartments. Yeah, some kid's favorite toy. And little, you can see these little things that had to have had some kind of value to the person who lived there. And they just had to literally up and leave it. Didn't even have time to grab anything, clothing still in the closet and stuff like that. That's the stuff that sort of builds as you're taking this tour through the residential areas. Just how horrific this whole thing was.
Yeah. Yeah. And as it progresses, more and more stuff happens to these people.
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, after they're stuck in the middle of the night, Chris and the Yuri try to go back and find help by going trying to find the soldiers that they first met.
The checkpoints, they've got checkpoints all around the place.
Thank you, checkpoint. That's what I wanted to say. Checkpoint. Yeah. The soldiers at the checkpoint, but they get attacked by something. We learn they're wild dogs.
The wild dogs.
They get attacked, and of course, Chris is the only one that makes it back to the van or truck, but he's wounded badly.
Yes, yeah, he gets bit really badly in the leg.
And then it becomes a story about them trying to get help for Chris.
Right.
And at no point do you, at this point in the film, do you think that there's something, crazy people out there, but you first encountered the mutated, the mutated, I keep saying mutated bear, but the bear who could be mutated. And then of course now
we have been exposed to mutated fish.
Oh, that's right.
Just before they get to the town. Because Yuri plays a little joke on them, like as if one attacked them, but they're apparently mutated fish that we actually see that are in there. And the one that is really a strange one that's dead dead there just out of the water. So yeah, clearly something weird is going on with the animals
because they're irradiated.
So the animals, that's I just assumed you're going to find some weird animals around here, probably. Or feral, at least, just ultimate feral animals that are going to be, you figure there's not much food and they're going to be pretty desperate, so
yeah.
It makes it a dangerous place.
And so the thing is, this doesn't all, like a lot of found footage films, you may think this is takes place in really fast one day, but they actually get there the next day.
Yes.
Decide to go search for Yuri first.
Right.
But they never find him. They find his radio.
Yeah. And they find his gun, too.
Oh, yes, right. They do find his gun.
They found he had a pistol, which wasn't much good, but they found that. So now at least they're armed with a few bullets or whatever.
Now, the great thing is during this whole time, you're learning the different relationships between these characters. One is that Chris and his brother Paul are kind of estranged because Paul doesn't really talk to the family, and Chris keeps finding himself in the position of being the middleman, the mediator between them.
He's the younger brother, and every time he cuts Paul some slack, he gets screwed, and boy, does he this time around. It's almost like what was that, 2.5 Men, with the brother relationship there, not quite as over the top, but
And of course, he wants to start, he wants to marry his girlfriend Natalie, and then of course Natalie and Amanda, who becomes our main character, are best friends, and the whole trip was designed to help Amanda get over her relationship with her boyfriend.
Yeah. But then some of these people are going to be familiar to you because a lot of them performed in the paranormal stories or the paranormal movies. I think Natalie, I think, was in the original Paranormal Activity, and a couple of the others that you'll see in here. So that's their connection with the director of the film.
The producer, Oren Paley.
Or the producer, I'm sorry, the producer of the film.
Yep, Oren Paley, or Paley, however you pronounce his name.
However you pronounce his name, yeah. Oren,
yeah, I hate to say his name wrong because, I'm a fan of I'm a middle fan of the Paranormal Activity franchise. I like some films more than others.
Yeah, I like the first one, and I'll just leave it at that. I won't go any further.
But unlike those films, this film isn't stuck with the found footage aesthetic. They can just go and do whatever they want to, which makes for a much more suspenseful film.
Absolutely.
Especially when they're exploring other parts of the town. Find Yuri and then to find a way out. Unfortunately, at some point they get trapped from leaving the town the easiest way by the pack of wild dogs.
Right.
But one of my favorite sequences is when they get to the car graveyard.
That is wild. Yeah.
It looks really cool.
It does. Yeah.
And when they get into the bus that's been shot up.
Yes.
It's been shot up from the inside out.
Right. That's the part that really got to me. It's like, these bullets are going out, not in. Yeah, that's.
And you're kind of figure out what the hell happened here.
And of course, I thought the same thing of one of the characters was maybe they got a machine gun because we're talking like a
lot of freaking bullets,
major bullets, but they couldn't find the gun that shot them. So
and until our talk right now, it didn't dawn on me that I didn't think about that. The fact that the military, that bus was a military bus with military people, and obviously they were trying to. They get attacked by the irradiated townspeople
or something. Yeah, they got attacked by something, but they're probably like first responder types going in there, the cleanup effort.
But what's funny is that all these vehicles have been abandoned, or not abandoned, but they have all been corralled.
Oh no, yeah, I mean, they've been abandoned. Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, they were the leftovers from when everyone had to take off.
Yeah, well, I think having that whole little graveyard where all the cars are, and then they happen to find the one piece to fix their truck there.
Right. They found the cables they needed or whatever to.
Which is cool as a device because it keeps those characters there in that location because they were on their way to leave.
Yes, right. And you almost one thing that the movie does well, just when you think maybe they found a way to get out of this. Nope. I mean, when they found the cables, I kept thinking, okay, yeah, they could, they could get these cables fixed. They could get the thing started. They can get Chris the help he needs. At least get to the checkpoint where the soldiers are and say, hey, we need some help. Because at that point, they don't care whether those guys know or not that they've been in the city. But no, the dogs have a different idea about the whole thing. It's like, nah, we're going to see what these guys look like they might be a pretty good meal. That is an unreal chase scene with the dogs. I mean, they going over this old bridge that's sort of collapsing underneath them they're really done well.
I will say a lot of the sequences in this film are done extremely well. Like they get a great usage of the location.
Yes,
in this film because a lot of the shots look amazing in this film.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think not doing the handheld by one of the characters helps the film because it helps the audience see everything, the location, and you see a lot of wide shots of the town.
Yes.
Whereas with your standard, found footage film, you probably wouldn't get so many wide angles.
No, it's all point of view stuff, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So I commend them for that. But then, of course, by the time the characters get back to their truck, it's overturned and Chris and Natalie are missing.
Yes. Yeah, that's not a good look. Yeah.
Yes, but that's where we get our first actual found footage.
That's right. We get it, on her phone. Or no, I don't know if it was a camera or a phone or whatever, but we also one of the other things that got to me that I didn't catch the first time around when I first saw this movie was that she's got a picture Yeah, she was. Yeah, I guess it was her camera because she was taking pictures all through the tour, and of the apartment building where the bear was. She's got a picture of the outside of it, and there's somebody standing at the window, and it's like, uh-oh, there is a person in this town, at least one. Which then we come to find out that yeah, there's a few of them floating around there. And when you see the found footage film, they realize, wait a minute, look at there's somebody in the window there. Oh, okay, jeez, oh my God. So,
and then the whole movie jumps into gear after that.
Right, you see the attack. You don't really see a close up of the people attacking, but you know it's a bunch of people attacking. It's not the dogs. These are humanoids. So at first I thought it might have been the military, but it's not. So that kept me guessing there for a while until the big climax at the end.
Yeah. But, even though it becomes more like a little chase movie after that, and they start losing characters left and right.
Oh, yeah.
The ideal is that some of the places they go into are really visually cool.
And a lot of them, going by the pictures that I saw that came out of Chernobyl and Pripyat, and the video game, which was extremely accurate. A couple of the buildings that they went into, other than the little residential building that went into where the bear was, but the other one, the big one, it's dead on. I mean, it's absolutely dead on with the way. I don't know how they found locations that looked so perfect compared to the real locations. I mean, I really kudos to their location manager, their art direction people and stuff, because they were just, even the Ferris wheel. I mean, it was all dead on.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Amazing.
To come across that and see all that. So anytime they came up to abandon things like that, it was adds a little bit more flavor to the film, especially by the end of the film, when the last remaining surviving characters, so to speak, are still wandering through the buildings, and then they go into a building and get lost, and then eventually realize that they've traveled outside Pripyat.
Well, that's the thing that really got to me is like, the last 25% of the movie's all chase stuff. After the van gets destroyed and Chris and Natalie are gone somewhere, and now they're just running from something because there's something chasing them, whether it's the dogs or other animals or whatever, and they totally lose their bearings. And what they don't realize, and what we don't realize until it's too late, is they've actually made it to the nuclear power plant.
Yeah.
Which was sort of a way off in the distance on the horizon. I can't really guess how far it was supposed to be. But in all of this running around and losing their bearings, all of a sudden they're there. They're not in the city anymore.
No.
They're in the damn power plant. And that's when it gets really interesting.
Yes. Now, I always imagine, the funny thing is the two are so close together, and it makes for a very interesting and compelling story to have them accidentally wander into the site, to the power plant, where they come from a like they do like a passageway to get there, and they don't realize that they're there until they step out into the night and they look up and they see
the stacks.
Yeah,
or whatever you want to call them, because they're actually at number 4, which was number 4, which was the one that actually imploded or whatever. They're actually at the official site of the reactor that screwed up, and they did. When they found Yuri's gun and his radio, they also found his Geiger counter. They have that, and all of a sudden it's just going crazy, just going ape. And it's like, oh my God, they're like in a hotbed of radiation.
Yep.
At this point, and it's like, so even if whatever's chasing them doesn't get them, something's going to get them. I mean, they may be exposed now to the point where they might never survive this thing.
Yep. Well, the cool thing is that for the audience, we actually see little bits of that stuff creeping in because they both start their vision starts to blur.
Yeah, and their skin's itching and blistering,
and that's because they've been there longer than they should have ever gotten there. Now,
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
people chasing them, hey, they're used to that stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Which is quite funny because we don't see that many clear imagery of that, except for the little girl they come across.
Right. That's yeah.
The one who's a distraction, because then I think that's when that's when Natalie gets taken for good.
Right. Yeah. They get distracted by the young girl, and all of a sudden they turn around and Natalie's gone.
Natalie's gone.
They find her, and then they lose her almost immediately. And then it gets me thinking that when they first when the van first broke down and they're trying to figure out what's going on, one of the characters, I don't know if it was Natalie or Zoe or the other gal, Amanda, who said, "Sounds like a baby's crying. Did you hear that?" And then I just sort of forgot about that. And then when I saw the little girl, it was like, oh, wait a minute. They were hearing something, way back then, and that's got to be connected to this somehow.
Yeah. Well, that's a very scary thought, because eventually you start realizing these people probably are having kids here.
Yeah. That's it. That's the scary part.
Until the very last shot. That's also a terrifying shot too. But we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah. We're getting to that good part there in a minute.
But the thing is, for the most part, you have the two characters who are the most flawed, who are surviving. You have Amanda, who's who Amanda and Paul. Now, of course, Paul has been a dick for most of the film, except for the fact that he feels responsible for his brother, and so everything is motivated to save his brother, no matter how detrimental to his safety it actually is. And then, of course, Amanda's the one who talked them into going to this extreme thing.
Yeah, she was all hot about, this is historic. We've got to check this out. Yeah.
And so, these are the two people we're left with at the very end of the film.
I kept asking myself or speaking to the screen when Paul was sort of having this feeling of guilt and stuff, and oh my God, maybe I need to straighten up and all that. I was like, couldn't you have thought of that maybe 5 years ago? Saved all of these deaths, because dude, you really screwed up this time.
But as flawed as Amanda is, she makes for a very interesting character by the end of the film.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Because she's kind of like our go-to person who pushes everything forward. I think that was a good choice. I think it's an odd choice, but I think it's a good choice.
No, I think they made a good choice with her on that one. Yeah.
So that by the time it's just her and Paul who have wandered into the action.
Yeah, you notice it was the two blondes that end up not making it. She was the only brunette, and she, as far as in the women, she was the only brunette, and she's the one, that she's the survivor, sort of.
Well, I was about to say sort of.
I'm saying sort of, yeah.
Because by the time they start having the itchy skin and not being able to see, and they realize they've wandered into the area of Reactor 4 of actual Chernobyl,
right?
They can't do anything other than try and get help from the soldiers that are preventing them from getting any help and leaving.
Yes.
I was not expecting that when I saw it at the theater.
No, I wasn't either. Yeah, all of a sudden you've got these flashlights everywhere, and
like
that military guys. Oh, these aren't zombies, man. This is the real McCoy here.
I really enjoyed how the film ended like this. The military people who have been hiding the secret of these people who have been abandoned to live in the city.
Yeah.
For the most part, because they're also being experimented on too.
Science. Oh yeah, no, it went both ways on that one. Yeah, they the nearby research place that was checking them all out.
Yeah,
and of course we later find out that these people just weren't accidentally living in the town. They had escaped from this research facility, and they were in the town because they had escaped and they were trying to find food and whatever. So they're half crazy to begin with.
Yeah, I kind of saw them as being in the same boat as the bear and the wild.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
In that they shouldn't be there, but they are there, and they're just out there searching for survival.
Yeah, exactly. They're just trying to survive. They're just as feral as a human can get.
But damn it, if that last scene when the doctors throw Amanda in that cell and she's attacked by all those people all at once.
They recaptured them, and it's like, yeah, you need to be with them because we got to keep this quiet.
Oh,
there's no way she's getting out. This is like an X-Files thing.
It's so chilling.
She knows too much. The other ones saved us the trouble. They got killed, but no, we got to. She's left to be. I guess you figure. They never really say, but I figure she got eaten.
That's how I feel.
Better terms, because these were probably very hungry, whatever they were.
Well, she's in a whole room full of people.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, this is like something like Night of the Dead on steroids. I mean, it is. Oh man, it's just unreal.
Yeah, but that's but because it ends like that and not like, oh, someone falls and dies and the camera drops and it just goes black.
Right.
I really enjoyed the way this film ended as opposed to a regular found footage film.
And this is the other thing that convinces you, not when you think back on it, it wasn't really a found footage film, because if that had all happened and it was found footage, then those guys would have gotten the camera and nobody would have ever seen the footage again. So this was, so folks, it really was a movie. Yeah.
So for you, Jim, how successful do you think it was in achieving its goal?
Well, it made money. It did very well. It did very well at the box office. It was like it made for $1 million. And I think it was like 35 million that it returned on its first release. So that is an unqualified success.
Yeah.
For me, I got a little upset with, folks get to rate these films on IMDb. Mm-hmm. And this got a 5, which was sort of like okay, it's not bad. It's not, it's just sort of mediocre. It's like, you guys are crazy.
Yeah.
This film was extremely effective. I give it an 8. I mean, it was just, out of 10. I thought it was a very well-made film, very believable. I totally got pulled in. I love it when a movie can pull me in so much. And the way they shot this and directed it, with the handheld stuff and the non-handheld stuff, you felt like you were a part of it. You almost felt like you were the cameraman, in a sense. You were actually a participant in the movie, and I love it when a film does that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so at the end, it's infinitely more horrifying than if you didn't feel that way.
I'm going to agree with you on this because I think
boy, that's unusual. No, I'm just kidding.
I think what happens with a lot of found footage films is they are popular when they came out and the genre was popular.
Yeah.
But as time goes on, and of course the found footage kind of it peaked really fast and then it dropped really fast because every filmmaker, every indie filmmaker thought they could make a found footage film with no budget, and they just were a lot more horrible than it was good.
No, it just became lazy filmmaking.
Yes.
Because they're not easy to make. In fact, they're much harder to make than a real film, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that's why we see the low rating for this. I guarantee you that the rating from when it originally was released to now, there was a tremendous drop because there probably wasn't a lot of people who saw it when it originally came out. But then over time, more people have seen it. I think that's...
Yeah, you see the craft behind it. You can really appreciate it.
Yeah, you can really appreciate this. And I like to say that for the found footage genre is one of those genres that unfortunately gets maligned because of what it is. And then you have that whole generation of people who can't stand shaky cam. So they just they just dismiss any film with a shaky cam.
Well, the thing with found footage now, so they had that big burst of success. If you were to make one, first you've got to be careful. It's going to be all in the marketing of it, because you've got to go back to what the guys did with Blair Witch Project. That started the whole thing. People believed that really was footage that had been found in the middle of a forest in Maryland of these kids that went missing or whatever. And they were genius. And it was when it finally got figured out that this was not real, then it was a whole new ball game. But if you were going to make a successful found footage film today, you would have to go back to where you could do it in such a way that people really thought this was legit.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes some doing, because now everyone's going to be a little skeptical, saying, "Oh, that could be just one of those found footage films."
Yeah.
But so I mean, that it's a challenge. There may be a filmmaker out there who want to take that challenge, but you really, that would be the whole key. If people believe it's real, then they're very effective, extremely effective.
Yeah, and
but now it's sort of like, I've been there, done that.
I'd have to do some research on if there's been a recent one lately.
It's been a while. I mean, when I think of them, Chernobyl is one of the last ones that I can recall. I know there's probably, I remember one that, but I don't think it was really billed as a found footage film. It was more billed as an alternate history film, where it dealt with a British astronaut who was in a Mercury space capsule, and that, actually the British had people up in outer space when we did too, and they were having an emergency and all that stuff. And it really, really pulls you in, because the whole time, the first half of that movie, I kept thinking that didn't happen. The British didn't have any astronauts and all. But then you get into the story so much, you're like, man, is this guy going to make it or whatever? But that wasn't really found footage. That was more one of those, you change history a little bit. Something that Quentin Tarantino's very good at doing.
Yes.
I love that. I mean, that's a genre within itself. That's a lot of fun.
Revisionist history.
But as far as an actual found footage film, I can't think of one since.
I can't think of one either. I can think of
2013, 2014, about the last time, Apollo 18, the one we talked about, the last time we talked about one, was one of the last ones I can think of that came out.
Creep is probably one of the more recent ones.
Oh, Creep! Yeah, I'd forgotten about that one. Okay,
because they've expanded it to the Creep tapes, which just came out last year.
Yeah. And then there was another one about a group of paranormal investigators investigating an old hotel. Or something that I think was like around 2015 or 2016.
Well, they did that one.
I can't think of the name of it now. It was very good. I really liked it.
The Asian one.
No, this was an American one, or Canadian, either American or Canadian. I can't.
Because I forget about.
I think it was based on an Asian film. I think it was like
I think Hill House movies are more recent.
Oh, I think that's the one I'm thinking of. Hill House. That's it.
Hell House, yeah.
Or Hell House. Well, it was called
Hell House LLC. That whole.
Yes, that's the one I'm thinking of. That's the one I'm thinking of right there. Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen it, but it seemed like that came out around maybe 2016, 2017, or.
Oh, those are more recent than that.
Oh, okay. So they would be probably the most recent.
Plus, they just did the prequel, I think, last year.
Yeah, I think they did do one last year.
Yeah.
Right. I haven't seen that one.
The Hell House LLC, the Carmichael Mansion, or something like that. I saw.
Yeah. So I mean, the first one was quite good. That's the only one I've seen so far.
Oh! I saw. I kind of did a deep dive when they all came out, and I saw them all. 2023.
That's what I'll end up doing, is binging them. When I find.
Oh, the other thing is, found footage has actually changed a little bit, because they're more like the movie Host, or Unfriended. I think that's the closest.
Oh, Unfriended! I forgot it. That is a very underrated film. Yeah,
because they're more like the computer screens.
Yeah. Which I really liked that one. That one, someone had tipped me off on that one, and I was really surprised. I thought, this is geared probably for a much younger crowd. I'm an old guy compared to. They're probably not in their marketing, but it was like. Man, I loved that film. I really, really got into it very quickly.
Yeah,
that was done very
and that's due mostly through what was it, the pandemic? People had to come up with something.
Yeah, that's when I saw it. We were right in the middle of the pandemic. Yeah.
But it's still a found footage aesthetic that just has been.
It is, yeah. They just
elevated to.
They found a different hook. Yeah, they found a new hook.
Yeah. But I really do enjoy this film. I really enjoy the fact that it tried to do something different.
Yes.
with the subgenre and take it into a different, like they didn't want to be held back by the conventions of the found footage. And I think by doing
and there was something else that Brad Parker was very, very shocked at some of the people who said, you're showing disrespect for the people who were involved with the actual event that had to move and all that stuff. And he said, no, that wasn't our intention at all. We didn't mean that. We wanted to draw attention to how horrific this experience was for people that actually went through this. I mean, he didn't realize that people would take it that way. And that could explain why they got some of the lower ratings on sites like IMDb, and some people might have been offended, because there's people that get offended at everything nowadays.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I won't get on that soapbox, but I mean, it was like, yeah, when I was reading about that with an interview with Brad Parker saying, yeah, he was stunned that some people were offended at the movie. It was like, oh my God, really? I mean, it's like, because they really wanted to use it to help raise funds for some of the people that were affected by Chernobyl. So I don't know. You never know how things are going to hit people.
Not anymore.
Some of this stuff. Yeah. It's just, we're in that place now, unfortunately.
So, Jim, are there any final thoughts from you on this film, Chernobyl Diaries?
As cliched as it is, if you haven't seen it, folks, or we've spoiled a lot of the little hooks and twists and turns, it's still worth a watch.
Yeah,
it's still worth a watch, and look at the artistry behind it and the craft behind it, because you can see that some real thought was put into this. The fact they did this for $1 million really surprises me, because it had to cost some money to match up those locations like they did. That was incredible to me. How very legitimate it looked, even though that was shot over 3 different countries. How they were able to blend them all together and make that all work into this one little area of the Ukraine that suffered, near, and I'll call it by the name Kiev, because I've always called that city's name, not Kiev like all the news people call it. It's Kiev. Come on, guys. Yeah. Even though they're spelling it differently now. But, it's not a real big area they're dealing with here. But, it was shot over, several locations that they were able to mix and match pretty well on this thing.
Nice. All right. So, for everyone out there, I would like to say that this is a found footage film in name only. It is not your traditional found footage film. So
yes.
You have not seen this because you thought it was a found footage film. You should by all means check it out, because it may look like a found footage film, but it does not play like a found footage film.
Right.
And that's what adds to the allure and the aesthetic of the film itself. I always like to champion films that try something different, and not being hampered by the cliches of the found footage film has elevated this film above what you normally would see in that genre.
Yes, very much so. It's almost like a docudrama. Yeah. I mean, it's not really a docudrama, but it's shot in that style or whatever. You Are There. We'll start our own genre. It's called the You Are There films. Because that's what you feel like.
All right. So, Jim, what we've started on the show is that we have, for the audience, we've been trying to rate the films as we go along. We usually do a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being poor, 5 being an excellent movie. Where on this scale do you put this film?
4, a definite 4.
Okay. I'm going to say a 4 as well. I enjoyed this film on the rewatch just as much as I did when I originally saw it.
Yeah,
I had not seen it in a good while from when it originally was released. I have no idea why. I've seen a lot of found footage.
Yeah.
Probably more, just as many classic films as Jim has seen. I've probably seen as many found footage films. All of the bad ones.
Yeah, I've got to catch up with you on that because I like the genre. I just
No, you don't. I
know most of them are pretty awful.
They're pretty awful. This being said, I hope that you've enjoyed this conversation on Chernobyl Diaries, and I hope it changes your perspective on the film, whether you've seen it before or you've never seen it before. I do implore you to rewatch it if you have seen it once, but didn't really care for it, because I think it is worth that.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you, Jim, for joining us on Conversation.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime. I love doing this.
To talk about this film. We hope that you will give the found footage genre a chance.
Yeah.
If you don't particularly like it, we are trying to delve more into some of these films throughout the whole year. As you heard, me and Jim have already talked about Apollo 18, but we've also
one of the better ones. And if you're hesitant on found footage, check that one out because I think it's one of the better ones.
Yeah, and we've also done episodes on the Bay, as above, so below, and we're gonna have plenty more coming up for you because we're going to hit on those type of films. So by all means, if you have a film you would like us to take a look at, please let us know in our comments or just contact us because we are always looking for more films to take to the next level on our show.
Yeah.
From all of us at Something Wicked Entertainment, we hope that you've enjoyed this episode of Conversations in Horror. Make sure to go to your favorite podcast app to like, subscribe, do that thing you do with your favorite podcast so you never miss an episode. And
leave a comment.
Leave comments. And don't forget to check out some of the previous episodes because we delved a lot into a lot of different things. And we have plenty of stuff coming up for you every Wednesday at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
From all of us here at Something Wicked.
Fun one coming up, yeah.
From all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, we wish you a very great day. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.